too to stick with it and not become discouraged.
Yeah, it is. You worry always about the psyche of the players. That's. I being a coach that's coached at a lot of development levels. I've seen that before though. When you're coaching the U.S. national team in the U17 year, the amount of failure before success is just crazy. And so you really believe, if you believe in what you're doing and the players are bought into what they need to do, I do believe that results are going to come. But yeah, it can be trying. I give our guys a lot of credit, especially the leaders, Darlene and Thompson and Tucky and guys like that, that they've come out and continued to attack some of the areas of deficiency. Entries were an issue for us last year, and I think going into the last two games over the 6 games prior, we were sixth in the NHL in entry success in that little 6 game segment. But that's good. That shows there's some progress being made. Retrievals were a massive issue for us last year. We were 31st in the league in loose puck recoveries on the power play, and we've been recovering them at a really high rate over the last 6-7 games. So I think that give the players a lot of credit that when they weren't seeing success on the scoreboard, they were still bought into the things we need to get better at to turn that into success. So now we just have to keep building on it.
You know Jack Quinn very well. You know his game very well. What have you seen that's maybe been missing, and how do you work with him? Just considering how well you guys know each other, and you know his game as well.
Yeah, and I think what we all have to remember is that he basically missed a year of hockey. And not only a year of hockey, games is showing the public, but a year of training and practicing and strength training and all of those things with some of the really significant injuries. And you just doesn't happen like that. When you miss that level of time, your timing, your confidence, the spatial awareness, all of those things, because you can do all you want in the summer on the ice, but it isn't the chaos that is an NHL game, especially in 5-on-5 situations. So there's a time that's going to take for him to regain all of those things. And so, sometimes you're meeting with him and encouraging him to stay the course, and other times you're trying to give him space as well, because um, you don't want to overcoach a player that is going through some challenges and some adversity.
You know how fast he can be. Is he still working on getting his skating back up to where it was? That kind of an injury sometimes can be tough, whether you're running or skating or whatever. Is he still working to try to get his skating back up to where it was?
It's a good question. I think the easy answer, might be yes, but I think there's things that go into that. It's not just skating; it's also decision making and lack of time and space and processing. Because the quicker your decision making is, the faster you look, and the more confident you are, the faster you look. And so sometimes it is skating, but sometimes it's all of those things combined. Um, I know that young man. I know what exists inside of him, and I know what he's made of. And I have the utmost belief that he's going to pull through the adversity that he's going through right now, because of how he attacks going about his business.
You know he's on that second unit. What do you see from that second unit? Because the first unit in the power play has been appreciably better.
Yeah, I actually think the Owens unit for large portions of the season at times was looking even better in practice and in games. I think as Darlene's unit has gotten better and better, when you when you retrieve pucks at the rate they've been retrieving pucks lately, that extends the time they're going to stay on the ice, because they've been in zone for sometimes maybe after the face-off, but they've been in zone for a minute 20, minute 30. So I've liked what Owen's unit, depending on the personnel. Bo's been on it, but Jack's been a mainstay on that. I like what that unit has looked like, and they've created a lot of chances in shorter windows of time. And I think that's something we just got to keep getting better at too, is our shift length, and even on the power play. as good as that power play was in the third period last night, okay, we don't break them. We get all those chances. It could have went in. They send it down. Let's get off the ice and give that unit their 40-ish seconds because we got a lot of good players there and trusting that they're going to get out there with fresh bodies and go execute.
What stood out about Owen's first 10 games? I mean, he's been involved. He's had a pretty significant start. I know you coached him full time last year, but just what stood out about maybe his start here?
I think not having been around Owen on a day-to-day basis, when you are around him, what you really appreciate is the intelligence he plays the game with at both an offensive and a defensive level, and how many good situations he puts himself and his teammates in, offensive and defensively, because of his decision making, because of his mind. Because of his ability to manipulate defenders and then put his forwards or other players on the ice in offensively advantaged situations.
What did you take from seeing the Florida Panthers twice this month, especially last night when you saw the real team with all their guys on the ice?
Yeah, I mean they're the Stanley Cup champs for a reason. They've been through the adversity, the growth. They went through that transformation. This is just me outside looking in at them and using them as an example of with prospects and in the American League and such. As they were a high flying, trade chances, rush oriented team 3 years ago. They went through the adversity of changing that, where they barely made the playoffs that year, and it was a rocky year outside looking in. I'm certainly not knowledge of it, but because you're going from trying to be a high flying trade chances team to a team that can win long term sustainably in the playoffs, which is with defense and predictability and structure. And then they found success through it with the last two playoff runs they've had, and obviously winning the championship. And you could definitely feel last night that they didn't get the line I would use is they didn't get bored playing the right way, even though they weren't getting a volume of chances. They didn't have many chances in the first period. They capitalized on the ones they did. We fought back and got it 2-2. And teams of that caliber aren't going to go away, and they're not going to stray very often and go chase the game. And you just can't get bored playing to your identity, and certainly they didn't last night.
You put in a lot of work to help JJ round out his game in Rochester. What have you made about the way his play away from the puck? The last shift of the game against Detroit stands out to me, the way that he forces Kane to shoot the puck wide, and just he seems to be putting himself in good positions to help you guys.
Yeah, that's a great example of it. The diving play he makes, which probably saves a backdoor tying goal. JJ, his play away from the puck doesn't surprise me. It may surprise some others, but those are things we saw in him in Rochester. He back-checked. He won puck battles. He forechecked. Michael Peca and I would always tell him that his legs were his moneymakers, and they're not just for offense. If you want to be a great player, you got to use that speed in your legs for checking as well, forechecking and back-checking and team defensive play. I think he's done that at a very strong rate. When you look at the collectivity of the first 10 games of the season, now we just want more of that. I think that what I've liked, we all know of Jiri's offensive ability, his shot, and his ability to create offense and score goals. And we've seen glimpses of that already in terms of how many chances he's created, and he has one. He easily could have many more. He's realizing how hard it is, how good the goaltending is at this level. He's the best goalies in the world. But then what I've liked is that he's earned a lot of Lindy's trust. Coaches play players they trust. That's the reality. They don't play players that are talented. There's nothing worse as a coach than calling a player's name and not totally knowing what you're going to get the next 40 seconds. The best feeling you have as a coach is, regardless of skill level, is when you call a player's name and you know what you're going to get for the next 40 seconds. And Jiri's done a really good job on the wall. He's won puck battles. He's back-checked. And he and I have talked about those things, all the things that we were on him about in Rochester that maybe didn't always seem as important in Rochester because he's scoring so much. As you're learning how to score in the NHL, those other things are things that can keep you in the lineup and keep getting you more opportunities to prove that you can actually also score in the NHL. And I think he's done a real good job of that.
I'm just talking about one game with him, and I understand that, but he had 3 shifts over a minute. One was like a minute 20, I think 7 shifts over 45 seconds. You had him as an 18-year-old. Is that something that was ever a problem in Rochester, or is that just a one-game thing that happened?
You know, those are things we talked a lot about in Rochester, but I think that that could go for, you know, I think shift length is something we can keep tightening up as a group, not just Jiri. Some of it is also dictated by you can get caved in defensively and stuck on the ice in the second period, especially. So sometimes that's where those anomalies are in terms of the actual length. If you had an opportunity to get off and it goes that long, that's more concerning than sometimes if you just had to stay on because you were in the defensive zone. But I do think for us to play with the competitiveness and the speed and the pace that we collectively want to play with, we can tighten up our team shift length so we can roll over and make our pace a lot higher. Yeah, you do. I think you got to make sure. I think the definitely what you're always on your mind is making sure you don't overcoach. You're trying to, as coaches, we spend hours and hours and hours combing through tape, video, and our own and opponents and tendencies and opponent goaltenders, all this stuff, to boil down to what is necessary to share with the players so they have enough information to know what's coming at them, but not so much that it bogs them down mentally. And so I think that probably is the biggest thing I tried to remind myself of in that, and also that, you know, we've went through worse situations and solved bigger problems than just going a few games on the power play without scoring. Trying to get them to attack work. Confidence comes from preparation, not from your stat sheet, and that's hard to pound in sometimes with younger players because they want to look and see I have this amount of goals and assists or shots or whatever, and I feel good about that, and that plays into it for sure. But you need to really believe in your process, and you need to believe in the work, and so. When you are gripping it or you're not having as much offensive success as you'd like, is to, instead of the woe is me, I can't buy anything or nothing's going my way, is attack the work, attack the process of getting better, and then believe in that. I'm a massive believer that confidence comes from preparation. If you check all the boxes, if you stack these little victories on top of each other, which little victory would be like the way you practice, how you take care of yourself off the ice, the extra work you put in before and after practice, the sleep you get, how you take care of your body away from the rink, all those things. You check those boxes and stack those daily wins. Then you get to the game and you can just play free because you know you've done the things necessary to put yourself in position to be successful. And so that's the biggest thing I try to get any of our players is attack that process, believe in that process, and then when you get in the games, trust that process and let it fly.